Unlocking the Soul, hosted by Rob Simperman and produced by Simplify Films. Episodes cover mature and controversial themes. Consider this when deciding whether and when to watch.
33. Jesus and the Christ consciousness. Christ is, in essence, the vibration of God as realized in man, and that it can be recognized and awakened and manifest, you will begin to believe that everything is possible in this world. Paul Selig. All of our spiritual sources agree on the basic role of Jesus, yet there's some differences in the details. Their consensus is that Jesus did not describe himself as a literal Son of God, but rather, like us all, he was a piece of God incarnate. But unlike us, he is from the upper astral planes, beyond our current incarnation cycles. Yet he chose to come into a body to show us what is possible in the flesh, how we too can raise our vibration and reach a higher plane even while incarnate on earth. He was to be a model for us in that endeavor. This is a role served by many, like Buddha, Muhammad, and even some saints like Francis of Assisi, to name a few. Paul Selig, who focuses extensively on the Christ consciousness, explains, quote, "Because there have been many Christs, there have been many teachers, there have been many who have ascended and who are way-showers, and every religion holds these people in regard because they resonate." Jesus' soul came from a plane that is closer to God, or all that is, than perhaps any who came before him. But he is one of many ascended masters to incarnate out of service to humanity. Some such beings are better known throughout history, while others remain anonymous. Some are even here now, but we are not permitted to know their identities and interfere with their missions. So let's break that down a bit. First, yes, Jesus was an actual man by most accounts. During a clairvoyance session, Casey saw Jesus' hair as mostly red, inclined to be curly in portions, yet not feminine or weak, strong, with heavy piercing eyes that are blue or steely gray. His weight would be at least 175 pounds. Cannon had a hypnotherapy subject as the basis for her book, Jesus and the Essenes, who similarly described him as having gray eyes, reddish-yellow hair, and a short beard, slightly taller than average, but slender. This subject, a young college student with no exposure to Jewish historical minutiae, recounted a past life over many months. She recalled being a male teacher in a progressive underground organization called the Essenes. They taught Jesus and John the Baptist from ages 8 to 14 in a secretive community called Qumran. He helped teach them the laws of the Torah, meditation, spirituality, and ancient teachings passed on in their sect from the lost history they were entrusted with. They recognized Jesus as the Messiah from the star charts and prophecies that identified his mother, Mary, and confirmed he was special by his personality as a child. Jesus' teachers describe young Jesus as able to explain complex topics of morality, love, nature, and God to his teachers and elders. He would explain even familiar topics as if giving them a breath of fresh air, helping all see with new eyes, often with parables and metaphors from nature. And that was before his public sermons and miracles, both of which came from being tuned in to the spiritual plane. Jesus' soul was ascended the same way that we're all working towards. As Casey said, he should be described as the soul that first went through the cycle of earthly lives to attain perfection. He returned to the spirit world, moved up through the upper levels, and then returned on a voluntary mission. Casey and others contrast that with the Christ consciousness, which is the, quote, awareness within each soul imprinted in pattern on the mind and waiting to be awakened by the will of the soul's oneness with God. Jesus embodying the Christ consciousness is unanimous among our sources and very pivotal to our understanding. Most important is to clear up the confusion that Christ consciousness is based in Christianity or any religion. Jesus brought us the message that the Christ consciousness exists as an energy of the universe that is accessible to all humans. This Christed state means to be in frequency with the Creator, without separation by the ego. Now that sounds like a tall order, scary even. We don't like diminishing our ego. It has kept us safe for millions of years. In fact, the frequency of fear is the primary impediment to moving forward. But as Selig says, the fear that has encased this planet for so long is actually being removed. The Christ consciousness will come again in any age when there is need. And this time, right now, at the beginning of the 21st century, is the time chosen for humanity to reach its destiny. Paul Selig states it as, "This is the moment in the history of man when he has the opportunity to become one with his soul's destiny. This is the time of the resurrection of Christ." How would this happen exactly? Who is doing so? And then, how do we raise our vibrations to the frequency of the Christ consciousness? 34. The New Earth. One man can ascend into his Christ consciousness and change the world. And he has done this on a singular level many times on this plane. It is going to be done now in many, many, many people as the planet begins its ascension into the new millennium of peace, understanding, and truth. Paul Selig. We've been talking about how we individually can ascend to the Christ frequency. But what happens if most of us ascend together? This has reportedly happened before, such as the kingdom of Shangri-La or Shambhala, that disappeared from our plane using the Buddha's teachings. But could it happen on a planetary level? This is not a thought experiment. This is exactly what those with direct knowledge of our spiritual truths say is our destiny. Whether they call it the Age of Aquarius, the New Earth, Judgment Day, or the Second Coming, the End of Days, it's coming, and by many accounts, it's already in progress. Here's another way to think about it. If you overtax your body, eventually it will wear out, die, and rise to the next plane of frequency upon death. So if you think of the Earth as an entity, often called Gaia, it shouldn't come as a surprise that our overuse and abuse of the Earth will similarly wear it out. It too will ascend to a higher plane to refresh and grow. Those whose body and soul can handle that frequency will join her on that transition. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're damaging the Earth with our focus on negativity and destruction. Recall that Seth explained that we get what we focus on. But how bad is it getting? Understand that this is not just a local problem anymore, not even just damaging the Earth. Dolores Cannon amassed details about the New Earth from hundreds of clients over 5 years. According to one of her subjects, the Earth's contaminants and negative energy have actually destroyed many planets. It seeps into other dimensions and universes. That particular ascended being was working to rescue and relocate beings from damaged planets while simultaneously working to clean up our low-frequency Earth contamination by counteracting it with high-frequency energy. His original homeworld was a crystal-based planet that dissolved as a result of our contaminants. He said they don't blame us. They know ours is a planet of lessons that exists for an important purpose. It's just that our playtime in the sandbox is disrupting the other kids, so we need to get out now and move on. What to do about it? As we've discussed, free will is the rule in our Earth schoolhouse. However, the situation here is now bad enough that the spiritual governing council for our universe decided it must act. It had 2 choices. Option 1 would be to wipe us humans out and start over. And this would not be the first time either. The preferred approach is to let the Earth's crust slip over the core, which causes earthquakes, massive floods, and ice ages. Remember, we're still digging up tropical species from the Siberian permafrost and finding them frozen without starving first, as if that shift happened rapidly. Sometimes they even give select people advanced warning. Ask them to build arks to help speed the repopulating. The fresh start approach was also reportedly done to Atlantis when their technology got ahead of their ethics. But that's a story for a different day. This time, the council decided on option 2. That is to enlist a confederation of light workers and ascended beings to help our entire planet to raise frequency and ascend to a higher density plane. We talked earlier about the density levels. Recall that 3rd density includes us beings with the seeds of self-awareness and free will. 4th density was that sort of buffer, quasi-physical density. But 5th density is the first that's completely ethereal. In that model, the shift we're talking about is the Earth rising from 3 to the 5 range. And we're not alone in this effort. A federation of entities under the guidance of a governing council of the upper astral has been working to ensure this transition for millennia. We talked about ascended beings that are nurturing the Earth with soul energy, raising it, preparing for its ascension. At some point, it will reach an inflection point. It will pop, so to speak, and the new Earth will separate over a short time, months or years at most. But recall that densities apply to beings, not places. The people who will cross to the new earth need to raise their vibrations and thus their body's ability to hold that higher energy. In addition to the powerful higher beings who are helping raise the vibrations of the earth from other dimensions, there are also these so-called waves of volunteers or light workers and keepers of the energy grid. These beings, on the scale of millions of people, are helping us, monitoring us, and tuning us. They are souls who are currently incarnating humans, maybe even you. They may be here to teach particular skills or qualities to other humans. One subject who spoke to Canon learned that she is there to remind other healers who they are and to remind them what their energies are so that they can do their work. She had exceptional abilities even as a baby, since she needed to incarnate with memory of her abilities to be effective in her task. These human volunteers are often consciously unaware of their assignments. They may do their work while sleeping or simply by being on Earth. The presence of high-frequency individuals plug into the global etheric energy grid, so to speak. Others are simply waiting and will understand their role in the new Earth when it comes about, when the veil of amnesia is fully lifted. Recent branchings have led to an increased separation between those who will ascend and those who will not be ready. Perhaps the divergence of social media communities and the growing political polarization are signs of this schism. But so then is the growing intolerance for oppression that was acceptable just a few short decades ago, as exemplified by legalizing gay marriage, Black Lives Matter movements, the Arab Spring, and the #MeToo movement. Other beings are raising the energy of babies and expectant mothers. They're modifying DNA and atoms themselves to handle higher frequencies. Some of these babies are new light workers, here to usher us into the new Earth. Others are simply meant to attain a higher frequency than our previous DNA could support. But what will the transition be like? Well, I cannot overstate the impact of this shift. Those who have a preview describe a period of chaos in the physical Earth. As the social, governmental, and economic structures crumble, natural disasters strike, and leaders, both political and religious, grasp to retain fear-based power. Higher frequency beings that we've never seen before, including ETs and interdimensional beings, will start to appear to us. Health issues will increase as energy blockages become more debilitating. There will be more pandemics too. Now, those who understand what's happening will help others remain calm and may encourage souls near that borderline to make the jump into the higher vibration. But as one of Canon's subjects warned, not to get caught up in the focusing on what will transpire, but rather to keep focus on the light. That's the challenge for us who plan to move on to the new Earth. It's the worry and looking back that hold us back in the third density. Many people who do not progress are stuck in fear, regret, sadness, and despair. That's what she calls the black stuff. Instead, we should keep our focus on the light, airy beauty of the new Earth that awaits us, that people we know are already moving to. However, for those who are sufficiently of high frequency and aware of what the transition means, the actual transition to the new Earth can be like stepping through a doorway. Some ascending may be completely unaware of the chaos and fear of the old physical world. They will notice feeling lighter, healthier, and negative emotions falling away. But others will be aware of this separation. Revelations 21 in the King James Bible describes this grand event with the imagery of a different time. It says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband." It goes on to say that, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passing away." So let's follow all that advice and focus on the good that our sources expect. We hear the astral beings enacting the change will direct a great wind of neutralizing energy that blows the physical pollution and the negative energy pollution from our atmosphere, surface, and even reaching inside the Earth's core. This also cleans the vibration of the humans. The waves clear a lot of concepts we hang on to. They neutralize depression, misery, money, religion. will understand all things differently and get a new beginning. Time itself will reset. It will become a new page. What will this be like on a new earth as the sources foretell? Well, new colors, animals, flowers, new fruit that is perfect food for us. It will be beautiful. For example, one of Canon's subjects describe a new custard apple fruit that is nutritious and delicious, being plentiful on trees. It's being developed by astral beings for us. People can keep their bodies in the new earth, at least for a while. But the bodies will change. They will transform gradually to be stronger, younger, lighter, more capable, healthier, taller, with energy visible on the outside, practically glowing. Physical symptoms of the adjustment period will peak during the transition. But in the future, there will be no illness. The skills of today's energy healers will be shared by everyone in the future. Paul Saliga explains that our body during ascension as our Christed self. It incarnates in our old, current body. Then what happened to our old self? Well, it fades away because it was never real to begin with. It was always the illusion. Our true Christed self is the version of us that has always been combined with God. The separation, the lack of love from our fellow beings, that is the illusion. Our eating will change. We'll avoid chemicals, preservatives, and toxins in our food. We'll no longer be able to absorb animal protein, particularly red meat, and we'll avoid fried food and large meals. Their lower vibrations will not mesh with our lighter, faster bodies. We'll consume more liquid nutrients, which takes less energy to process. You can see the trends of organics, vegan juices, and meat substitutes taking off in the last couple of decades as part of this transition. Then eventually, there will be a subsequent shift. It will advance us even further to pure energy beings, abandoning bodies altogether. At that time, we'll only use light for our sustenance, as other etheric beings do. We won't age or even die from that point on. So then what happens to those left behind? Well, we'll go into this in more detail, but their souls will remain on a path to eventually attain perfection and return to God. But incarnating on Earth will no longer be permitted to work off their karma. Their path may continue on a different planet, appropriate schoolhouses for their needs. They may even return to the new Earth in the future when they reach the fifth density too. As one of Canon's subjects describe it, everyone will be given the opportunity. Whether they can hold the vibration or not is up to them individually. There will be no judgment made on them. None will be destroyed as the comments have been heard. They will be placed in an appropriate space for the vibrations they are emitting. So it is, by definition, difficult to plan for an extremely chaotic event coming at an unknown time. Even if not all of our plans will come to fruition, it is always beneficial to have good intent, as one of Canon's subjects suggests. So what can we do to prepare, assuming this transition is happening? Well, here's the top 4 tips that I've been able to put together. 1. We make choices of light or heavy thoughts, actions, emotions, foods, numerous times per day, even per hour. So just keep choosing the lighter options. 2. We need to let go of karmic debts. Simply letting go, forgiving, will serve us well, as all karma is discharged in the new earth. As Buddhists would say, practice non-attachment. 3. We should not be overly worried about those who are not ready to move on. Do not look back. Fear and grief risk one's own ability to ascend. We must remember that those experiencing the chaos are getting a learning experience per their own free will and their own path, as discussed earlier. And 4, don't worry. Once your vibrations are sufficiently high, you will automatically move to the new earth. There is no way to remain. You can't be left behind if you're able to move forward. And don't worry about young children either. They naturally have higher vibrations, which is why they can often see fourth density beings already. Help them in their emotions and diets and be a pillar of stability, an example for them if chaos erupts around them. Does some of this sound familiar to what religions have been telling us to do all along, to get into heaven or to reach nirvana? That's interesting. I'll leave it at that. But this section has only scratched the surface of ascension, which is the purpose that all of us exist. In the next part, we'll take a deeper view of the soul and how to progress on this path.